you had to start really treating your human beings like human beings and not like data points.
Hello there. This is John Bernatovicz, your host of the HR Like a Boss podcast. Thank you for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share with a friend. I've embarked on a journey to get to know amazingly awesome HR and business professionals, and I'm trying to understand what it takes to do HR like a boss. On today's show, I am so excited to be joined by Stephen Campbell. As a matter of fact, I met Stephen through his agent who reached out to me to be on today's podcast episode. So Stephen, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. So maybe for those that don't know you, Stephen, would you mind sharing a little bit about you and your career and potential connection to the human resources field?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a stand-up comedian. I've been a comedian for 8 years. I've been a fundraiser for about 10. And I've been putting on corporate events for about 4 or 5. So it was always a side hustle until we incorporated at the beginning of 2020, January 2020. January 20th of 2020 was when we incorporated. We were going to go all in on corporate events and fundraising, and 2020 decided otherwise. So, things went crazy for everybody. Obviously, our pivot was to move to virtual events. So we've produced, I think today marks 168 virtual comedy shows since the pandemic started for employee engagement and all sorts of other things, for different social impact goals and for different employee engagement activities, whether that's a happy hour, whether that's a sales meeting. And the main thing that we've been doing is just trying to make people laugh and make a difference in the process.
How would you describe the purpose of human resources?
Keep people like me in check. There's such a science to it, but also such an art to it, because if you take just me, and there's gonna be so many HR people listening to this that are cringing if you were to take an employee like me and you buckle down too hard on different privileges and for instance, worked for a sales team, and as sales continued to not do well as a whole team, different privileges were taken away with the thought of, if we take these privileges away, they will act in a more productive fashion. And it backfired hard, where everybody kind of rebelled and they stopped working and stuff like that. And I take that one little anecdote to say that it is very much an art form of understanding which employees and which teams work with you or work for you, and understanding how they will react to certain situations while also maintaining a corporate culture. So very long-winded way of saying that human resources purpose is to maintain the peace and maintain the corporate culture. And that just means something very different depending upon who you're dealing with on an individual basis and on a team basis.
Tell us how, if you were to give an HR professional 1 or 2 pieces of advice of how to manage through an employee that's maybe giving them problems, giving them fits, maybe not fitting in, maybe not producing, whatever you would describe yourself as back then, what would you have done differently or recommended to that HR team to help you become successful?
I think that a lot of organizations look at people as function boxes, right? That a certain input equals a certain output. Having an understanding of who your team is, what their strengths are, and what their weaknesses are is very important in creating a productive work environment. I think that a lot of the groups that I've worked with had a playbook, handbook, whatever you want to call it, that they operated out of. And if person X does this, then you express yourself or you respond in Y, where having a deep understanding of who your team is and who the people are, and having a deep understanding of what their strengths are will better equip you to have a strong team. Treating everybody as the same individual is something that often results in a big swath of those individuals pushing back against whatever the rule is of the time.
What is a top trend you're seeing, Stephen, with your customers?
Well, one of the things, especially early COVID, and you see it a little less now, is so many brands ran off of brand. Does that make sense? That
yes,
they underpaid their employees so they could have a matcha bar, and they have everybody has scooters at the office, but no 401k. Like, there was just like all these things that were so cool. So we don't have to be a great company. And a lot of companies were forced to grapple with that once everything became remote, because no one cares if you got a scooter in the office when we're not in the office. And so you had to start really treating your human beings like human beings and not like data points, which is how a lot of companies, especially startups, the bigger startups, run their company as data points. When we added matcha, what did this do? What did survey data say about morale? And it was just this thing that once the pandemic happened, a lot of people that we were getting in rooms, we were talking with a lot of bigger companies that maybe we wouldn't have had an opportunity to talk to if it were not for the pandemic. And a lot of that was because these companies that were grasping for brand experiences or, different ways to show their employees they were part of a team that they weren't really equipped to do. There was a huge demand for our services because of that paradigm shift.
Last question for all my guests is the same. How would you describe someone that does HR like a boss?
I see the person with a backwards hat, backwards chair, sitting bow-legged over the backwards chair, and just, like the cool teacher, the cool teacher trying to relate with everybody. To do HR like a boss is truly some Hawkeye precision that you need to be able to understand who your team is and who works under you, and be able to operate in a way that does not alienate that whole diverse group of people, but also do it in a way that people understand that you are the boss, that you are also an authority figure. And anybody that can walk that tightrope, my hat's off to you. Not literally because my hair's a mess, but my hat's off to you, because that is a tightrope that I am not able to walk. And so whenever I watch somebody walk it, I am in awe.
Appreciate you being on the show. It was a lot of fun, Stephen.
Cool, man. Yeah, I sincerely appreciate the opportunity, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you for checking out the HR Like a Boss podcast. If it resonates with you, please consider leaving a rating and review. And better yet, subscribe and share with a friend. Until next time, let's continue to aspire to do amazingly awesome HR.